Shuttle loops are a simple yet iconic set of coasters with surprisingly simple but thrilling ride experiences. But many of these interesting and fun coasters have sadly been disappearing over the past few years, with many being sent far away to smaller parks or even being outright removed in many cases. It's been happening for a while, with the first of these removals dating back to the mid-1980s, and sadly, this trend seems to be a major threat to the shuttle loop's existence. So, what happened to shuttle loops? In the mid-1970s, the looping coaster took off with the debut of Rise Like Corkscrew, the first inverting steel coaster, and Revolution, the first coaster with a vertical loop. The industry was just beginning to find ways to utilize these new maneuvers. In addition, more parks wanted to build inverting coasters, with demand growing from parks both big and small. Particularly, there was demand for a smaller, more basic but less expensive looping coaster that parks could easily build. Additionally, the concept of utilizing a mode of accelerating the coaster up to a certain speed, similar to how a car would accelerate on a highway, was also starting to be explored as an alternative to the traditional use of a lift hill to build momentum. In 1977, these ideas were combined to one simple but creative coaster when the world's first launch coaster at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio opened under the name Demon. The ride was the first in a series of coasters built by American company Aerodynamics from 1977 to 1980 at various parks. The ride itself was simple, as it would start off from an elevated platform where the train would be accelerated forward using an electrical winch system before dropping down and hitting 45 miles per hour before hitting a dead end, before another winch system launched the train backwards into the loop again, before finally rolling back into the station. Though this ride was new, during the exact same year, another competitor began building a similar ride. Famed coaster designer Anton Schwarzkopf made the debut of his shuttle loop coaster with King Cobra at King's Dominion, followed by two others, known as White Lightning at Carowinds and Tidal Wave at California's Great America. These rides launched riders, this time on a lower section of track, using a weight drop system to bring the train up to speed in order to complete a single loop immediately before traveling up a vertical spike above where the weight for the launch system was stored, before falling back, going through the loop again, and going up another spike on the other side of the station backwards before being brought to a stop in the station to end off the ride. After the initial success of the first three prototype models, Schwarzkopf constructed another three for the 1978 season. The first was a carbon copy of California's Great America's shuttle loop, also under the name Tidal Wave, which opened at Six Flags Great America in Illinois. This was likely ordered for the park around the same time the 1977 Tidal Wave ride was, as this not only had the same theme, but also was the last shuttle loop to use the prototype weight drop design, as all other new shuttle loops that opened that year and beyond utilized a flywheel system, which instead of having a weight drop under the ride's spike to launch the train, had a large flywheel spin at 1000 RPM. When the launch was initiated, a series of clutches would attach to the wheel, which would pull a cable attached to a catch car, which was further attached to the train. This chain of events resulted in the flywheel's momentum suddenly being transferred into the train, accelerating it forward up to its top speed. After this design change, the company found more success installing three in Japan between 1979 and 1980, but sadly, the final two installations of the initial shuttle loop model would occur in 1980 at Kennywood as Laser Loop, and in 1982 at Wallaby, Belgium as Sirocco. However, this was not the end of the story for the Schwarzkopf shuttle loop installations, as the company debuted a second generation model of the shuttle loop at Wiener Prater in 1982, optimized to have a more compact layout, taking a sharp turn and performing the loop under the station, followed by another turn in the other direction into a spike with an upward boost. This design took more of a box or circle-like space instead of a long and narrow one, allowing it to fit new spaces that the older variant could not take up. The ride also included a drive tire system used for the boost on the spike and the main launch, which was less complex and intricate, allowing the ride to be a little more forgiving in the maintenance department. In addition, the ride was now portable, allowing showmen to serve as an additional potential customer base for the ride. Sadly, before more second-gen shuttle loops could be built, Schwarzkopf experienced bankruptcy in 1983. This badly affected the company's ability to build rides, leading to only 2 to 3 rides opening in 1984. It was also a likely factor in why no further shuttle loops were produced after 1982, and it's possible the changes from the bankruptcy caused plans to continue to sell both the shuttle loop models and the similar looping star model to all be shelved. Though Schwarzkopf did continue to innovate after this, the same could not be said for the company's shuttle loops. Though both Aero and Schwarzkopf's shuttle loops proved initially successful, a serious problem began to develop. As previously mentioned, many of the original coasters began disappearing not long after first being installed. If we look at RCDB, we can see that the first coaster to be removed from its original location was in 1982 when the Wiener Prater 2nd Gen shuttle loop was removed after only 1 season. Though Wiener Prater also sends a lot of its coasters away after a short period of operating, so this is not really due to any real issue, it's really just the result of the park's practices. But then, in 1984, Boomerang, an air-launched loop at Tokyo Dome City, was suddenly removed for unknown reasons. Though Tokyo Dome City also has a long history of removing coasters after a few years of operating, so this is not too surprising either. But only 2 years later, in 1986, the Schwarzkopf prototype shuttle loop installation was suddenly removed from King's Dominion, being moved up the coast to Jolly Roger Amusement Park in Maryland. After these initial removals, a trend of both Aero and Schwarzkopf launched shuttle loops being removed began to rapidly emerge. Here's a timeline of removals and relocations of shuttle loops throughout the years. Green represents new installations, orange represents relocations, and red represents outright removals. We can see that a couple of new installations occurred in the early 80s before our first removal occurs in 1984, which I previously mentioned took place at Tokyo Dome City. Then in 1986, a wave of relocations began with the already mentioned King Cobra removal in 1986. During this time, various Aero and Schwarzkopf installations got sent to other parks after only a short time operating until 1992. Though this initial wave of relocations dried up, the problems for the model only got worse. After a 1996 relocation, the first removal in over a decade occurred in 1998 with an air installation at Six Flags America being removed. This was followed by 2 more removals in 1999, both of which were Aero models. Another relocation occurred in 2001 of a Schwarzkopf before the first removals of the shuttle loop occurred in 2002, with 2 Schwarzkopf models being removed that year. This happened again in 2005 with another 3 being removed, but also 1 being relocated. But moving on, the final 3 removals would occur in 2008 and 2009, where Aero and Schwarzkopf shuttle loops would permanently cease operation. So, what could be causing this? Well, I decided to go through each case, and I found some tendencies, so here's some of the most common reasons. First, maintenance. Much of these rides had issues with staying maintained properly. This is especially true for the Aero shuttle loop, which had a lot of mechanical parts which bang against each other, causing serious wear and tear. Examples include rides like the Thunderbolt Express, which was torn down after it could simply not be repaired. Schwarzkopf shuttle loops had this issue too. Some shuttle loops had to have other defunct installations act as parts donors due to the rarity of the right parts, ballooning maintenance costs and contributing to such rides becoming rare. Second, replaceability. Much of these rides are easily replaceable. Many bigger coasters have replaced an occupied part of the otherwise compact space these shuttle loops took up. A notable example was the removal of Laser Loop at Kennywood to make way for Steel Phantom, a large and intimidating multi-looping coaster with a 225-foot drop, which easily dwarfed the former ride. Steel Phantom utilized the old station of Laser Loop, and had its lift hill and brake run occupied part of where the old track used to be. Another example is with the prototype Schwarzkopf loop known as King Cobra having its old station reused for Anaconda, another large-scale looping coaster which took up more space but provided a bigger, more intricate thrill compared to the basic layout of the old shuttle loop. For some reason, parks seem to reutilize shuttle loop stations as prime real estate for newer additions. The third and final common reason is park closures. Very often, the parks these rides were located at suddenly would close or go out of business, resulting in the rides either being sent away or torn down. This caused the prototype era shuttle loop at Boardwalk and Baseball to be sent away when it closed in 1990, or the shuttle loop at Yokohama Dream World, Grease Lightning at Kentucky Kingdom, and Grease Lightning at Astroworld, all of which went defunct with their parks. It's also important to note that there are some other reasons too, such as coasters being sent to other parks within a chain or sold off, or take the example of lightning loops, when ridership plummeted after a serious accident in the 80s. There might also be other reasons as to why this trend is taking place. So, what do you think might be other possible factors? Comment your answers down below. If we look at Sirocco, we can see that in 2013 a major refurbishment occurred with help from German company Gerstlauer, which seems to have severely refurbished or replaced the train, as well as add extensive theming to a new underground mysterious experience. In addition, the launch was also replaced with a magnetic launch. These changes help breathe new life into the ride and help restore ridership by providing a more interesting experience. It also extended the ride's service life, allowing it to safely operate for many years more than it was originally designed to. The last shuttle loop in the US, known as Montezuma's Revenge, received an Ace Coaster Landmark designation, which is an award for notable coasters which have contributed much to the amusement industry or have other special honorable qualities. With the Ace Coaster Landmark designation, Knott's Berry Farm, the park which the ride is located at, now has more reasons to keep this ride due to its status. And with Ace's mission to preserve old coasters, there is now an extra reassurance that this ride is here to stay. Finally, we have Revolution at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. The ride has a special custom support structure which seems to be designed to fit the tight spaces of the park. Arrow has had a long relationship with Blackpool up until their bankruptcy, with their only remaining steeplechase coaster operating at the park, as well as an Arrow Hyper, known as Big One, which is the tallest coaster in the UK. In addition to many notable Arrow coasters, they also have a lot of classic rides as well, such as Grand National and Big Dipper. So for such an old park with classic rides, the park is committed to help keep these rides around. This vintage aspect to the park seems to be a big reason why the park has not simply scrapped this ride and built another in its place as of now. And when a park like this is so low on space, I commend Blackpool for keeping this ride operating. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed that exploration of what happened to the shuttle loop model. This was a bit of a longer one, but what did you guys think of this video? Was there anything else you wanted me to touch upon or go deeper in on? If so, you can comment your feedback down below. But anyway, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, you know the drill. As always, all feedback is encouraged and highly appreciated, but that's all for now. Peace out.